Welcome, welcome, everybody. This is our third Plotly Hangout. As a reminder, these hangouts are a space where you can meet and interact with data scientists and data analysts that are merged in the world of data visualization, Plotly, and Dash. During these hangouts, you will often hear from our guest speakers about their professional experience, their journey that brought them to where they are today, and the lessons that they learned along the way. Your participation in this hangout is highly encouraged, right? The more you all, the community members, participate, the richer the hangout will be. So feel free to unmute yourself at any time. You can join us on camera. You can ask our guest speaker any questions, pretty much any questions that you would feel comfortable being asked yourself. Um, if you're more of a chat person, you want to ask a question via chat, that is also okay. We have the chat feature in Zoom, so feel free to share your comments there or ask your question at any time. Just a reminder that this session is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube and LinkedIn probably later this week. We also got here, Dear, welcome, welcome. All right, so to get started, I'd like to introduce Andrew Schutte, our guest speaker. Andrew is the senior data scientist for the Kansas City Chiefs. Prior to working for the team, Andrew was a director of baseball analytics at Kansas State University, his alma mater. He has a background in industrial engineering and data science and data visualization. In today's session, we will be highlighting Andrew's journey from industrial engineering to senior data scientist working at the Kansas City Chiefs. And for those of you who might not know who the Kansas City Chiefs are, they're a famous U.S. Football team that is actually one of the best, right? They keep on winning and winning games. During the session, you're going to hear things like hands-on technical showcase of a Dash app, referring to game day scans of entries into the stadium, into the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium, a deep dive into the data science function at the Kansas City Chiefs football team, and career reflections on transitioning into a data science role. Andrew, welcome. How are you?
Doing good, Adam. Glad to be here with you all.
Cool. Hey, Jeannie, welcome. Thank you for joining. Um, Andrew, to get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself prior to joining the Kansas City Chiefs?
Sure. I actually grew up in Kansas City, so I was a lifelong uh, Chiefs fan prior to working here. But I went to community college for 2 years, and then, like Adam said, went to Kansas State University, studied industrial engineering. I had a few internships, kind of in the corporate world, but then um, sports was my love, so went back or yeah, I was trying to get sports jobs and this one worked out.
Andrew, when did you did you know a lot for a long time prior to joining the university that you wanted to study industrial engineering? Like what motivated you to study that?
Yeah, I don't know, I was just a I don't know, a young kid and just like I want to use math and I want to save companies money. And so I was like, oh, like that's accounting, right? It's not. Um, so that's what I started at. Started with in community college, and then I was looking at just like different engineering programs and stumbled across industrial engineering. And for those of you that don't know, it's a lot of like facility layout, manufacturing, engineering with their like what type of metals can cut what. But then there's also the side of like um, it's called uh, basically like optimization. Um, I'm blanking on the name, but it basically is like a supply chain problem or like the traveling salesman problem. If you've heard of that, it's um, just yeah, it's how do I take a complex of variables, complex of equations, and come to the optimal answer. So that's what I was interested in when it came to industrial engineering.
So I understood why you went into industrial engineering. Did you transition into data science or something else within while doing that degree?
Yeah, sort of. It was kind of one of those workshops where you are looking for like, what do you want your career to be? And it had like, your personal interests and then your academic interests. And so I love baseball, um, and I love math and, using math and numbers to solve problems. So the center of that Venn diagram is Moneyball, or just, baseball analytics. And so I was like, hey, like, why don't I try and start something like that at K-State? Like, um, I know other college teams are doing it. I'd read a few articles. So that was kind of where like the sports and the academics came together for me. Um, and it was, a very bold um, goal, I would say. Like it was,
Why
shooting
was
for
it
the
a very
stars.
wait, why was it a very bold goal?
Um, yeah, I'm a college student and I'm just, emailing coaches, hey, I know math, I kind of know baseball, can I help you guys out? So just like, cold called them and they're very receptive and um they're like, yeah, sure, we don't really have anyone else, helping us with
Okay.
this.
Andrew, wait, I want to highlight this
Yeah.
because this is not something very common that people do. And I think it's very beneficial to take that kind of approach in life, which is that proactive approach, right? You think, okay, I want to do this type of role. Maybe you don't know if you want to do this job forever, but you want to try that out. You want to get some experience in it. And one way is to search the web and see if there's anything that pops up and just apply. But you were, it seems like very proactive. You're like, you know what? I'm studying this. I know more interested in this area of math and analytics. So you just looked up like baseball teams in your area and well, you probably knew them already. You just gave them a call. You looked up the phone number and called them.
Yeah, well, it was an email.
Okay.
But yeah, and like you're saying, you're I was looking at these jobs because Major League Baseball teams had these postings and they had, experience with like ball flight data and um just other specific technical like hardwares and softwares. I was like, well, I'm not going to go buy these $50,000 machines and set them up in my backyard. Like, but the
Right.
local college, the college I'm at has those and they're using them. So, yeah, I was just, email them, hey, this is kind of what our skills are. This is kind of the vision that we have. Um, can we help out? Is there anything we can do? And I think within 15 minutes they responded. They're like, let's set up a phone call.
What were you offering to help them
Days.
with?
Yeah, so it was just like part of it was just like scouting efficiencies, scraping websites. Um, they were a new coaching staff, so they're still trying to recruit players. So it was, can we help you, set up a database? Can we help you like search for players? It ended up, building an Excel sheet that brought in all the JUCO players in the nation to into one sheet. They could do all these filters and whatnot. So um, it was pretty basic, but it grew from there um, as I
Okay.
was there for two
So
years.
for those audience members that are not from the US, what can you explain what scouting means?
Sure. Basically just like looking at players, determining, how well do they hit, how well do they pitch, fielding, running, throwing, all of that, and then deciding is that a good fit for our team. But it also comes down to like what is my team's needs and how does this player impact that. You may find a good player, but you may be set at that position, so you're not just always looking for the best players with the best stats. It's how does this player fit your team's makeup and chemistry.
Okay, so prior to joining the Kansas City Chiefs, while you were still at university or a little bit after, you actually emailed these coaches and offered to help them with these with scouting, right? With data analytics around scouting, so it will be easier for the coaching team to find the most appropriate players for their team.
Yep.
And they're just like, okay, great, yeah, let's do this. And you went there and you just started working on it.
Yeah, pretty much. I gathered a team of like a few. I had like a friend at the time who was like, "Sure, I'll help you out." So he did that with me for like a year or so, and then hung up flyers around the school saying, "Hey, I need help. Come join." So We had about 8 people when I left. Still going strong today. Still Program's still around.
Oh, nice. Kind of
Yeah,
feels kind of cool, right? That you were the one
yeah,
that like the founding father, you're the one that created all this.
yep.
All right, Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about your role in the Kansas City Chiefs football team?
Sure. So like Adam said, I'm the senior data scientist here in the finance strategy and analytics department. So my boss is the VP of finance strategy and analytics. Under him, there's two sides. There's the finance, then there's the data science side, which I'm on. So we're basically a consulting company a little bit for like the entire business side. People are always coming to us with problems, data they need, or efficiencies they're looking for. And so we're ingrained in ticketing, marketing, event operations, fan experience, um, as well as um, other departments. But those are some of the ones we work with the most, and we're just there. We got dashboards, we got scripts running, we got um, whole bunch of different projects.
Andrew, well, actually, before that, just as a reminder, because I do see about five people joined us just a few minutes ago. Feel free to unmute yourself. Feel free to ask questions at any time. Right, Andrew's here to answer questions that you have. I'll try to answer any questions that you have. The more you participate, the richer this conversation would be. So feel free to jump in and and share some comments, or in the chat, you can also share comments if you want. I think the Zoom has this raise your hand feature. If you want, you can do that as well. Andrew, so what I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned like we're kind of like a consulting company, but you're a department within the Kansas City Chiefs team, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And as that, what's the name of your department?
Finance strategy and analytics.
Finance, strategy, and analytics. What are some of the projects, if you don't mind sharing, that the Chiefs have you work on?
Yeah, so one of the biggest, it takes up a lot of my time is ticket sales. So that's from setting season ticket price, or yeah, setting season ticket prices, individual game prices, having a model that's always running to spit out pricing recommendations. Are we too high? Are we too low in some places? We also have a propensity model for our season ticket members, like the likelihood for them to renew, and then we can bucket those um, accounts so that everyone has, when we're renewing, each sales rep has a fair shot at the commission. So it's not like one person, everyone renews, and another person, half of them renew. But it's kind of even the playing field there. And then um, I just have a live sales dashboard that connects to Ticketmaster. And basically every 30 seconds to a minute, it's pulling data so you can see the most recent sale. Basically, the second someone buys something on Ticketmaster, it shows up on this dashboard, revenue numbers update. That also has a revenue prediction for the year. So, like, when are we going to hit our sales goal? What day? And then what's our total sales going to be if we do go over that goal?
Why is it important to have that kind of foresight on how many tickets or subscriptions might be renewed on an annual basis?
Yeah, so a lot of that's like for budget purposes. It's the one department that brings in the most money just from a day-to-day aspect. So my boss, he's in charge of creating, setting the budget. So that's really important to him to be able to have that so that when he is talking to that department, there's that um, live, like ever um, living projection and just helps us know what we're going to have uh, in the middle of the season. And then also just like as we're selling tickets, we don't want to sell out in July. We want to have tickets available the day of the game. So it is important to like slow down sales or speed
Oh,
up sales as we get closer to the game.
why is it important to have football tickets to the stadium the day of the game?
Yeah. Well, part of it is you can increase prices as you get closer to the game. So instead of selling 5,000 tickets today for $5, we could sell um, half of those at $5, but then in 30 days we could sell them at three times that. Um, and we make money, but it doesn't hurt the attendance. And then there's just other things where we'll need tickets for different people, different players as we get closer.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to soon, we'll go into the type of, I know you have an app you want to demo for us. We'll do that in a second. We'll go into the tech stack and how and when you use Dash and Plotly for this. But I want to take a step back and go over again your role in Kansas City Chiefs. What position did you start in? So first you were interning at this baseball team. You built the analytics department out pretty much, and then you joined the Kansas City Chiefs. That's how it works.
Yep, yep. And I joined the Chiefs as an intern, um, or they
And
call them
what?
seasonals, uh, as a seasonal in 2021. But
Okay.
I was still in the same department. Um, but it was just as an intern role, so full time wasn't promised. But um, as I started working, um, I had done Dash at K State as part of the baseball team, so I'd experienced. So I was able to come in pretty quickly, start up and building dashboards and making an impact on the business. So then I got hired on as a data scientist, and then I think last year I got promoted to senior data scientist.
Congratulations. Congratulations. At this speed, you might be chief data scientist in like 6 months. Wait, so Andrew, as an intern, your role was pretty much building analytic dashboards using Dash and Plotly.
Yep.
Nice. And
Yeah.
how did the other departments and your supervisors react when you built these kind of dashboards?
Yeah. So we had already had Dash Enterprise at the time. So it was just bringing in someone else to get to all the requests that were coming in for this.
Requests from other departments and
Uh,
managers?
mhm.
Oh, so you were
Yep.
helping out with those requests.
Yep.
And so you were building your apps with Dash Enterprise.
hmm
Interesting. Oh, what when you learned Dash and Plotly back at the baseball team, like what did you think about it? I'm pretty sure at the baseball team you were using open source Plotly and
Yep.
Dash.
Yep. Open source. Well, yeah, I love like the interactivity I could give. I could send a link to the coaches and they could filter and look at all these graphs. And um, it was easy to go from like building um, a visual in a Jupyter notebook and then just putting it into like an open source and connect it with a drop down. So, um, but the reason I found Dash was I had these graphs. I'm like, well, I don't want to sit there with the coach and just change a few options here and there. I want to give them the whole thing. They can play with it. So that's really where um, that was the reason why I I chose it. But then with open source, I was deploying it on AWS on my own, which was not very easy to figure out. But I'll say Dash Enterprise made it much easier to just deploy right away.
I'm sure they were excited. I remember I did the same thing using Plotly, and then I wanted
Mhm.
the prior job where I was at before Plotly, I wanted my team to see the graphs and interact with them without having to come back to me and say, Adam, can you change this data point, please? Adam, can you please change this graph? Well, definitely, but I can save you time by you doing it yourself, right? Given the drop down and check boxes and radio items and all that. So I'm sure your coaches, at least in the baseball team, were like, "Oh, this is cool," and they start
Yeah.
using it on their own.
Yep.
Um, a little bit about one last thing in the career development topic that we're on right now is um, as part of your career journey, what um, what do you think are some of the projects that you did on the side or maybe the baseball team aside from the baseball team that help you advance in your career?
Yeah. So it was actually like just getting started with Dash before I had really started the baseball. projects. I just was playing around, just trying to create a portfolio of different projects that I had done. So it's just like a real simple um, baseball data dashboard. But I was able to like go into interviews and show um, the hiring manager like, hey, like I built this just like on my own time. And so they were able to see that, oh, like, he can learn new things really quickly. Or maybe not even quickly, but he can learn new things and apply it um, and complete projects that's not just assigned for a grade or for coursework. And then also just um, I like I mentioned the scouting project when I kind of started the baseball program. It was scraping websites, and then I used that exact project to get my first internship where I scraped websites for the company to see who had licenses expiring, and then those turned into sales opportunities. So it was pretty simple at the time, but it's something you can show in an interview.
Yeah.
It really helped. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would like to reiterate that because often community members will ask me, Adam, what do you recommend for getting a job in the data science world or data analytics? And that's usually the number one advice that I give them. Like, build stuff and have them online, have them on your resume, have them on LinkedIn, have a link to the stuff that you build, whether you're deploying a Dash app and you want to link to that, or whether you have the Dash app as a code in your GitHub repo, then you can link to that with images of what it's capable of. But build out that career portfolio. So then, like you said, Andrew, potential employers see what you're capable of, right? And see that you're proactive and disciplined enough to actually do things on your own without being reactive, right? Being asked and then doing it. You actually go out there, you have your own interests, and you have your own skill set that you're showing the world how to use. So very awesome. Um, Now, along the way, when you were learning Dash and Plotly, is that how you actually taught yourself Python or?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd taken a C++ class at the community college. I did not like it, but then I found Python, and that's really that with um, pandas and Dash. That was really when I started to learn Python and coding a lot more and understand it a lot better. I took a Udacity course as well on pandas and data visualization. And it wasn't necessarily with Plotly or Dash. It was just like Matplotlib, Jupyter Notebooks. But it still taught me, this is how you go about data analysis. This is what here's some Python examples, code examples. And then from there, yeah, it was a lot of self-teaching, Googling, Stack Overflow. They didn't have Chat GPT yet, so I had to do it the old school way. but
Yeah,
um, but yeah, it was a lot of it was self-taught.
that's probably how you learn so much when you have to
Yeah,
do it on your own. Uh, it's good for the learning process. All right, let's go into the data science team or department at the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, remind everybody if feel free to ask any question you want in the chat section. Uh, make sure I can see participants. Okay. Um, Going into the data science team at the Kansas City Chiefs, what your department is finance, strategy, and analytics. Why is that department important for the Kansas City Chiefs, or generally speaking, for a football team in the U.S.?
yeah. So right there's the finance side, which is um, budgeting, looking at revenue, making sure we have enough money to pay players, making sure we have enough money to, run the business and whatnot. So that part's really important. But the data science side is also important to be able to predict out in the future. Take some of that financial information, predict out what our cash flow is going to look like, and then as well as making other departments more efficient. And so then they don't have to spend as much money on headcount or um, vendors, product services. My team can do a lot of that automation, building dashboard, website, data input, database, all that. So that's kind of like the high level. spiel that we give for our department. Yeah.
What would you say are measurements of success for a data science team within a sports team?
Yeah, I think like time savings is a big one. How much time can I save other people? This process took 20 hours a week. Now it's no time at all. They get 20 hours back in their day or in their week to do their actual job, the actual subject matter they're good at, not worrying about data. So time and savings is huge. And then just also um, how often are dashboards used, and can we make predictive analytics on it? So you get a request, make sure the dashboard is useful, and it looks good from a UI perspective, but then also um, does it empower action for these departments?
Um, can you share a little bit more about the different functions of your team? Are certain people, maybe certain projects that your team members are working on?
So one of my coworkers, there's like a voice of the fan survey that goes out to fans during the season, and they rate our stadium, um, security, concessions, basically everything. It's a huge like 300 question survey. So he put together a dashboard to um, basically analyze that survey, compare it to last year's, and basically put a tool in the hands of the fan experience department to see what all is. Um, what are the areas of concern? Are the areas we're doing good? So that's one of them. And then another project is just pulling from our data warehouse and making data more available to like our corporate partnerships team, so that everyone is all on the same page and not having to go search for this data often.
What is exactly a corporate partnership team?
Yeah, so they sell different advertisements you'll see at the stadium. Like, T-Mobile has a huge banner, they would sell that. Basically, different people who partner with us, they may have suites, but they want their logo throughout the stadium on advertisements on the scoreboard. So that their department is uh, responsible for that.
Cool. All right. Well, um, I want to give you the opportunity to showcase your app. One question before you do that, specifically you, Andrew, what are your responsibilities within the department?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, ticketing is a pretty um, big. It probably takes up 60% of my time, just with different requests coming in, different dashboards, pulling from that database and displaying information. And then there's a game day scans app, which gets um, 50 plus views on game day. Our organization has 230 business staff, so that's a really good chunk of people looking at this dashboard. Um,
And it's live.
yeah, and it's live. So scans are coming in every 30 seconds to a minute, basically as fast as we can get them. And then um, it has like comparison lines for different games so we can see how we're trending compared to other games. And then I have a lot of other just like automation um, tasks and stuff running that kind of touch all different uh, departments in the organization.
Cool. Before you share your screen, I see that Daniel has a question for you. How is your team structured for front end and back end tasks? Thank you for your question, Dan.
Um, so I assume this is asking like for each app, like what's the breakdown, or is it like um, what do we
Um,
use for each?
I think Daniel, feel free to unmute yourself and clarify. My understanding is, do you have certain members in the team that are doing front end and other members that are doing back end tasks?
So that's the goal. We're not quite there yet. Um, we're the way Dash Enterprise is set up, each person, the easiest way is for each person to just own each app completely. So I do back end, front end, and the analysis work for each of my apps. We're slowly starting to transition to I'm all the front end or 95, 80% of the front end. We have a machine learning engineer and we'll have a data engineer. So we have those skill sets. It's just for how much work we're getting in, it's really hard to break it down because there's really only three full-time data scientists and we have an intern. So um, it's not a huge team, um, but we want to transition to a more front end specific, back end specific.
Cool. Daniel, I hope that answered your question. Now feel free to ask another one. Yep, perfect. All right. Any other questions from our audience members? I'll give you a few seconds to unmute yourself or type the question. And if not, we will jump into the app demo. Okay, it's sharing 1 second. Now that looks good.
Cool. So yep, this is our game day scans dashboard. Um, you can still see it, right?
Yep, we see it.
Okay, perfect. Um, so we have a Postgres database. That's basically the back end of all of our Dash apps. And then all this is coming from Ticketmaster. We can't hit Ticketmaster directly from Dash, so we have to use a specific server and put it into Postgres, and then it comes into the app. But basically, there's all of our previous games, other special events, going all the way back to 2022. We have data back to 2015 or so, but we archived a lot of that is in the recent years. Um, but so like our last event was Monster Jam. So this is up running live on game day. Tickets distributed, sold, and scanned. There's a little pop out up here that shows some
Nice.
other specific ticket information as well as like um, what level they scanned in at to just have further breakdowns there. And then parking, very similar. The parking team actually uses this to set up the parking lot. So they see they have a lot of red parking. They'll make that section bigger than maybe the platinum lots or whatnot. Um, and then this graph down here, the red line is the day of scans, and the blue line is a comparison. So this blue line was last year. As you can see, we had more people than last year with this huge spike at the beginning. And this is for ticket scans. There's also a parking scans one, um, which is
Andrew, 1 second. Can you
similar.
please go back to
Yeah,
the ticket scan? So what this is
sure.
telling us is that today or whenever that was at present time, there was a lot more scans, like 100 minutes before kickoff compared to a year before, while a little bit the opposite happened after kick, which makes sense because then after the kickoff, there's fewer scans to be had. A year before, there were a lot more scans a few minutes after kickoff.
Yep, yep. And that can honestly come down to traffic or just like if it was hot. Some years it's really hot for this event. It's not always on the same day, but yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's very easy to see like in real time that this is going on. So like this big spike can help um, other departments adjust staffing plans
Okay.
or concessions or and whatnot. So
Nice.
yes, but yeah, it's graphic. You just have to read a graph, and I don't have to send out an email
Yeah.
for all of this. But yeah, parking very similar, and then some just more tools down here. So this is like an average scans per minute over the life of um, the scan time. So from 1:30 to 8 o'clock, we average 21 cars scanned in a minute. But then there's like real time, so this can be used to project out if we're scanning 35 cars in real time right now. Over the next 2 hours, we're going to park X amount of cars. Um, and then there's a slider here which we can change between to look at certain windows to see how many cars on average we scan in between 90
Nice.
minutes and 30 minutes before the event. So um, just simple tools for different departments to use. And then percent scanned of distributed.
What does that
And
mean?
it's
Percent scanned
also,
of distributed.
yeah, it just takes this number divided by our total parking number.
But what is it actually? What information is it giving you? If it's a high percentage, it's telling you what?
Yeah, it's just saying that. So this is like a specific metric on like a game day objective dashboard
Okay.
my coworker made. So it's yeah, it's maybe not like a real time um,
Okay.
analytics. It's more of kind of like going back in time and looking at it. Um,
Andrew, thank you for that. Before you scroll down and tell us more, there was a quick question
yep.
from Ethnic. Um, they said, since the pop-up that you showed about a minute ago looked very pretty, what component are you using for that?
Yep. So this is called a modal. I'm actually using Dash maintain components for 95% of this app. I think these are Dash design kit tables, um, which is specific to Dash Enterprise. But um, yes, Dash maintain, and then these are just tables. I think I'm trying to think of the,
Is this the
or
Dash
actually
AG
no,
grid?
no, sorry, these are Dash. I think these are just Dash tables.
Okay,
Um, we've switched them up to AG grid, but haven't gone all the way there. Yeah, so no, sorry, this is just a Dash table.
okay,
But we have a bunch of styling on it that we kind of share throughout all of our apps. Uh,
perfect. Ethnic,
yep.
thank you for your question. If anybody has questions about the app, this is the time. All right, you were saying, Andrew, now is this clock-ins unit?
Yep. So this plugs into our HR data. Um, and so we basically have like these units, event ops, facility security, and then within each we can have a drop down or like an drop down, expanded out. It's kind of like a hierarchy of like, okay, now these are the subunits in each main unit, and then we can see their clock in rates. So like this one, only 50% of people showed up to drive these courtesy carts. We may need more people to switch over to that from another department. But
Okay,
again, this is just a tool for another department to use.
yeah,
But it's real time, and there you can download raw data as well to see okay who didn't clock in actual names of people and
yeah.
all that stuff. So it's really good for on event day and then post event day. They can come back to this report and download it. And then this is just basically a graphical representation of the table above with a neat sunburst chart um,
Nice.
as well and a bar chart down here. So I'll also share um, what this actually looks like on game day so you can kind of see the whole thing uh, in action. This is just a short 20-second video or so. But this was when Messi came and played. Lionel Messi came and played at our stadium back in April. Um, so um, as the match is going on or as people are coming into the stadium, no one ever has to refresh this page. It just automatically updates
That's real. And
as it goes.
what I was seeing there is that nobody's going to miss a Messi game. There's a lot more scans compared to last year before the
Yep.
kickoff, and then a lot more scans after the kickoff.
Yep. We didn't really have a good comparison, and yeah, it got blown out of the water.
Yeah. Um, Andrew, there's a question here from
Yep.
Daniel. The question is, how long does a dashboard like this take to develop from ideation to rollout? Good question.
Yeah. I mean, funny story on this one. I stayed up all night before an event making this because for whatever reason, an email didn't get sent, and they didn't tell me they needed this. So I can say this got built in about 10 hours. It's grown a lot since then. I work on this probably once a week. But something like this, I say like um, maybe 30 to 40 hours from like completely bare bones, nothing to setting up your database and then creating those connections, deciding what data you want where. I think 30 to 40 hours, basically a whole week for something of this size is about standard. We can do other ones, smaller stuff in a day or two.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is not a simple app. You're connecting to live
Right.
data, you're sharing with different departments. There's a lot of information up here.
Yep.
Okay. Was there any other a tab or part of the app?
Um, this was everything.
Okay, cool. Anybody have any other questions about the app? Feel free to share in the chat. Thank you for the demo, Andrew. It's a pretty
Yep.
cool app. I think you presented this in Boston, right? I didn't get a chance to see it, so it's really cool to see that.
Yes, I did at
Um,
ODSE East.
what do you think? And this is all with Dash Enterprise, right?
Yes. Yep.
Has it made the production and billing of an app faster than using what you use of the baseball team, the open source Dash?
Yeah, it is. It is a lot faster. We have a dedicated workspace. We don't have to worry too much about virtual environments. It's all in, one workspace. And then really just deploying the app, it becomes so much easier. It's just a one-click button, um, and it deploys. And then restricting access to it um, goes into like our Azure like directory essentially. So anyone who has an email with the Chiefs or in our domain, they can access this. But we can also restrict access to only certain people. We can do that, from like a panel, or we can do it in the code as well. Of get the username. If the username is this, they have access. If they don't, they
So do
don't.
you
Sort of
actually
thing. So
have dashboards that you've built that are only
yeah.
accessible by certain board members or departments?
So we have an executive dashboard, and actually on the one I just showed the staffing information only gets showed to about 10, 15 people. Not that it's confidential, but it's just like not everybody needs that on game day, and we don't want to get extra questions on something that doesn't pertain to them. But yeah, that's controlled by email as well.
Nice. All right. I want to build on the tools that you're using, right? We started talking about Dash and Plotly. You showed us a demo. Regarding the tech stack, what other tools does your department use in the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, Postgres is pretty important for us. That's basically where we have all of our data lives, and then um, ChatGPT, we do use that quite a bit just for really time savings. It's not like we're asking it to build us an app, but you know, give me a for loop for this. Give me
Yeah.
a list of these things, or just something that I could type out in 15 minutes, but I don't necessarily want to do. And then we have been like documenting a lot of our stuff, so we are using Visio as like a um, documentation tool just for different apps and data flow, um,
What's the
so on.
purpose of the documentation? Just to know how to recreate this kind of app?
Yep, recreation. Then also just with some of the security and like there's fan data in some of these apps, so we have to um, like for an audit each year, we have to say, okay, this is where the fan data is going. This is how often it's getting updated, how long it stays there, how long, um, what cadence it gets updated. So it's more of like a policy type thing, but
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So you mentioned Postgres, Dash Enterprise, ChatGPT. Postgres is for a database, right? Um,
Mhm.
ChatGPT sometimes to get started with things, small snippets of Python code. Plotly, obviously.
Yep.
Open source Dash is under the hood. Um, do you use any other AI integrations?
No, not really. Not outside of like any models we create with sklearn or anything like that. But it's yeah, we're kind of clamped down on that. Not always allowed to. I'd love to put in a chat bot. I'd love to make a ticketing chat GPT, but just with the sensitive data, um, it's
Yeah,
not very easy to lock those down.
yeah, yeah. I've heard that before with ChatGPT. Um, I have a question from Mohammed. Thank you for your question. Really cool apps, Andrew. Have you hired people on the team that had not hadn't had experience with Dash prior to joining? If so, how long did it take them to start? contributing. And he's asking this because this is typically a concern people raise when discussing Dash via versus other BI tools.
Yeah. Um, so about a year ago, we hired a girl who at a previous job had used R. So she really hadn't been using Python a lot. I was using Power BI at her job, but she came in, kind of brushed up on Python, and we are like, okay, kind of get started with Dash. Here's some of our examples. We showed her Adam's YouTube channel and other online resources. And I'd say within about a month, she was building dashboards, asking questions, but it was good questions. It was like, okay, like I see this feature, like, here's my callback. It wasn't like, okay, so how do I get a drop down
Mm.
implemented? It was, she really understood the callbacks and
It was more
it was just,
sophisticated questions.
yes, it wasn't, oh, my code's broken, can you fix? It was really good questions and there was an understanding. So I will say we did have some other people we hired, um, maybe didn't go so well, but I think it really comes down to the person you're hiring, how much experience they've had coding and learning things. I think if they demonstrate they know how to code and they can learn something, they pick up Dash very easily.
So you said about a month, and was she building right away with Dash Enterprise, or you had her build with open source Dash?
No, right away with Dash Enterprise.
Nice. Okay, so that I think should answer Muhammad's questions. About a month it took, um, which is quite impressive. Like to hire
Yep,
someone and not to
we
go
we were
through
impressed for
extensive,
sure.
yeah, not even to go through like extensive training. Hey, you use R? Well, you're going to learn Python, and within a month you're going to build dashboards. Like, okay, wow, and it happens.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. How, for those audience members that are listening to us and are interested in going into a data science career, data analyst career, app development, what would you recommend? Let's talk about that a little bit. For the person that you hire to do that, after a month she was building Dash apps. Um, what drew your attention in her, like in her resume that you hired her?
Yeah. So like she had a blog on injuries, like NFL injury prevention and like injury rates on like grass versus turf. But basically had like a whole story about it. So she had done the analysis, but it was able to communicate it out in a blog post and had other good um, projects in a portfolio that showed she can do more than just code and just communicate well. She can do both. So I think that was really important. But then also like she knew her stuff when it came to the technical side, right? Like it's easier to learn the game of football than it is to learn data science. So if you know data science, you can pick up any other field, the subject matter relatively quickly. So um, I think it was like those two, a combination of that. Yeah.
So she had like a project portfolio, things that you could look at, you said?
Yep. At like a
Nice.
whole website. I think it was like a blog or something like that. But
Very nice.
yeah.
Um, Going back to tools and tech stack and development of apps, can you talk to us a little bit about the process from ideation to creation of a Dash app? What does that look like?
Yeah. So ideation really starts with meeting with the key stakeholders, the people who are going to be using this app. And we don't really like to talk about, okay, this app is going to have, a red header with a gold, sidebar. It's more what are they needing to get out of the app? What are they needing to like what information? Is it the revenue of the day? Is it how many people scanned in? Is it quick comparisons? So we really get what are they looking for, and we take that back, um, and then from there, uh, we all um, kind of have like a template we use for apps, but it really depends a lot on what are they wanting, and we make sure we get that right, and then we go into how does it look? What's the design? Um, what's the font? What's the
Yeah.
color? So all this other stuff. So it really comes down to like make it correct before you spend a whole bunch of time worrying about the whole layout. Because sometimes you'll give it to them and they're like, all right, this is perfect. This is all I need. And right, they're good to go. They don't need the bells and whistles. But then sometimes it's okay, well, I want this number here, I want this number here. And if we had spent, 3 weeks doing the layout, it's like, okay, well, we have to redo it all. So it's really about getting the biggest thing is getting the right information, and then they'll indirectly tell you what they want it to look like.
Yeah.
But
I love that advice because often people will, I'll hear a lot of community members that are developing their own apps ask me questions about should I do this style? What's the best style? What's the best layout? Where should I put this component before they even started building the app, right? Before they even uh, understand clearly what data they want to show. Is the data clean? What's the main goal of the app, right? And that's the most important part. Build the app that you want for yourself or for your audience, and make sure don't care. You don't need to. You shouldn't care about how it looks or the style of it at the beginning. Just make sure it's fully functional and it hits all the points. And then, all right, let's make this a little bit prettier. Let's use rows and columns to see where we put each component. Very important. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
Um, the other question I had, so you talked to us about ideation from beginning to end. Uh, is there a lot of back and forth? You're building a dashboard app for whatever your executives or finance department. Are they as you're building the app over the next 2 weeks? Do you every day show them what you've made and then they give you some feedback, or you get your orders, you build it, and then after 2 weeks you submit it?
yeah. There will be some milestones that I hit while I'm building it. Like, okay, this table is done. Send it over. Hey, how does this look? Is this correct? Is this what you're wanting? Yep, that's good. Okay, great. I'm going to add these other things. Then each time I complete a page or a component, I'll kind of send that over. And again, it does depend who we're working with, but for the most part, it is like a check in as I'm working on it, and it's also so that they know I'm working on it, and I don't just hand them a link at the end of the 3 weeks or however long it takes. Um, it's like, all right, I'm done, and
Yeah.
there was no, I could have steered off the path. So some departments do like to give feedback more than others. Some are like, looks great, looks great, looks great, looks great. I say, all right, I mean that's easy for me, but
Yeah.
yeah, communication really is key.
Cool. All right, we have about 2 minutes left. I still have a couple of questions, but I do want to give our audience an opportunity to jump in. If you have any comments, any questions, any comments for Andrew, any reflections, please feel free to do so. So let me go ahead and Daniel saying this has been great. Thank you, Andrew. Learned a lot. Um, a question for me also, Kathy. Thank you. Has has winning a Super Bowl changed the data science team or impacted how you do things?
Yeah, it really has. A lot of winning a Super Bowl is focused on, oh, what did you do on the field? Your on the field team, your football team is great, but I don't think people understand like the business side has to have everything together for that as well, because we have to plan an entire trip to the Super Bowl um, for the organization. So um, after having been to a few, we've um,
Why are you just bragging, Andrew?
yeah, but after we've been to a few, it's very clear that like we have to plan ahead for this, even if we don't make it. Like, so we start in December, like, all right, this is the plan. This is where, um, just like with everything, like there's a plan and we have to be more proactive. But then that also leaks into every other part of the business, and every other event we put on. How do we be more proactive? How do we, um, not have as much debt? How do we get, you know, reduce
Like,
costs? How do we make more money, more revenue? So, it takes the on-field success and then it shows, okay, well, the business needs to keep up, and it kind of motivates us to perform. to the best that we can. It's you don't really get compared to other teams, but um, there definitely is that um, expectation. Yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for that, Andrew. Um, Now, as always, we like to end our hangout with one concrete suggestion or advice for our viewers. What advice would you like to share with our audience?
yeah. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but like I said, like learning football is easier than learning data science. So if you're wanting to go into sports or just in the corporate world, know the data science part or the data visualization, technical skills, master those because um, it's much easier to learn the subject matter, talk to the subject matter experts, or whoever you're building the dashboard for. They know everything, but they don't know data science. So if you're expecting them to give you information on how to do what you're trying to do, like, that's not going to go very well, but, um, you know, own that part and be good at that.
Cool. Well, thank you for this, Andrew. I do want to close us out. Mohammed said this has been very informative. Thank you. I do want to remind our viewers to join the Plotly Dash community meetup tomorrow. If you don't have it on your calendar and you would like to join us, it's tomorrow, June 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Feel free to email me. I'm going to put my email here and I can send you an invite. Yeah. I'll send you the calendar invite if you just email me. The other reminder is our next Plotly Hangout is the last Wednesday of July. We always have our Plotly Hangouts with guest speakers on the last Wednesday of the month. So the next one will be July 31st at noon Eastern Time. We will post about it on LinkedIn and on the community forum probably next week. But if you'd like to sign up today and just have a calendar invite, a tentative invite, again, just email me at adam@plot.ly. It's adam@plot.ly. Andrew, thank you much. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us or having me.
All right, everybody. Have a good day.